These hearings are being recorded and cast on YouTube as we speak. But without further ado, I will hand over to team leader Neil Rosenberger to introduce Lynchburg.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman and Commissioners, or good morning to many of you.
Yep.
Those of us on the East Coast are noon time. I'm Neil Rosenberger, Deputy Chief Fire Marshal here at Palm Beach Gardens, Florida, formerly from Colorado. Been here about 14 months. I'm the team leader for Lynchburg, Virginia's peer team. Our peer team traveled to Lynchburg and performed a site visit December 6th through 9th in 2020, just about a month and a half ago. I'd like to thank our peer team members. We had Chief William Hunt from Shelby, North Carolina, Chief Amy Porcopio from Jacksonville, North Carolina, and Chief Jason Hathcock from Garner, North Carolina. We had that North Carolina market kind of cornered there, and then myself from Florida. We found Lynchburg to be credible. They're a beautiful community nestled between the Blue Ridge Mountains, rich history. Fire department's over 100 years old. They're 113 miles from Richmond, Virginia, 68 miles southwest of Charlottesville. They're a full service fire agency with 189 personnel protecting 50 square miles and a daytime population of 130,000. They staff 8 engines, 2 ladders, 5 ALS medic units, and 8 fire stations. Peer team found them to be credible, as I said before, and recommends them for consideration for accreditation by the Commission on Fire Accreditation International. I'd like to introduce Fire Chief Greg Wormser.
Thank you, Chief Rosenberger. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Fire Chief Greg Wormser, and I want to thank you all for the opportunity to be with you today as we share our vision and desire for continuous improvement through the CFAI accreditation process. I'm incredibly excited to introduce our wonderful team because without them and the great work our employees undertake every day, this endeavor would not be possible. First, I want to recognize some city leadership here with us today. Mayor Mary Jane Dolan to my right. Can you all not hear me? Okay. Mary Jane Dolan to my right. Interim City Manager Reed Wodika to my far right, and Interim Deputy City Manager to my left, Kent White. Also with me today are members of the senior command staff. Deputy Fire Chief Robert Lipscomb down to my left, Deputy Fire Chief Jonathan Wright to my right below me, and Captain Matt Milner, our accreditation manager. I would especially like to thank the men and women in the fire department and our community who are joining us virtually through the live stream. Finally, I want to thank Steve Lambert, a member of CIPSI, who answered the phone every time we called with a question, even on the day he had surgery. The professionalism and dedication to continuous improvement and perseverance shared by the peer assessment team led by Chief Rosenberger cannot be understated. And we want to acknowledge their commitment to staying the course with us despite the many COVID challenges, as Chief Dongworth pointed out. I'm grateful for their work and can proudly say we have new lifetime friends and colleagues. The Lynchburg Fire Department has a storied history dating back to 1883. The dedication, compassion, and integrity displayed by the more than 180 uniformed and civilian men and women of the department is what makes this community and our vision for being a leading public safety agency in the Commonwealth of Virginia a reality. Our department serves the independent city of Lynchburg, also known as the City of Seven Hills, through our 8 fire stations, training center, and apparatus shop, with an apparatus complement, as Chief Rosenberger pointed out, of 8 engines, 2 ladder trucks, 1 heavy rescue, 5 advanced life support ambulances, a technical rescue team, and a hazardous materials team. The department is poised to serve the community as an all-hazards department for years to come. Although we recognize there's always room for improvement and the accreditation process will certainly assist with that improvement, we are most proud of our resource allocation, continued cancer risk reduction efforts, transitional fire attack methods, a 51% return of spontaneous circulation, and our consistent recognition by the American Heart Association Mission Lifeline program. As part of the accreditation process, specifically the development of the FESM and the Community Risk Assessment Standard of Cover, CRASOC, we were able to identify the need for additional personnel to staff a 24/7 medic unit. This information was provided to City Council, who unanimously approved this request. We also learned the importance of analysis by time of day as we navigate the overall service delivery methodology across all response types. We are thankful for the 30 recommendations provided by the peer assessment team and want to share with you that since their visit, we have begun to improve on performance in several areas. As an organization, prior to the team arriving, we recognized the need to improve call processing time and dispatch time. As a result, we made changes to dispatch protocol to ensure resources were dispatched in a more timely manner. We also began the process to integrate our apparatus shop and fleet services to provide more efficient operations and oversight. Additionally, since the peer assessment team visit, we have developed a policy for data outliers and data reporting. We have also entered into talks with the PSAP and radio vendor to develop an effective methodology for emergency button testing for all radios. Finally, we are working with a contractor to add men's and women's bathroom facilities at the fire station that will be renovated this calendar year. In conclusion, the dedication and resiliency of our workforce and our community is second to none. Every day, the men and women of this organization provide measurable outcomes that are positive and meaningful to our community and to each other. It is both my honor and privilege to lead such a great team and to be the fire chief of such a beautiful community. And with that, I'll take any questions that the commissioners have.
Thanks very much, Chief. First of all, I want to recognize great report, and your achievements on the medical side are amazing. Having that, twice the national average for return of spontaneous circulation, and then your advanced practice paramedic program, certainly something as we seek best practice, as we hear from agencies, clearly you're doing something very, very right. So congratulations for that. I'll go first, though, to Terry Ford with the first question from Commission.
Good morning, Team Lynchburg. Congratulations on a great report. Happy to hear about your outlier program. Can you talk us through any kind of information that's starting to yield and what you're starting to see already?
So we have just implemented the policy and have run the data for calendar year 2020. Deputy Chief Robert Lipscomb is the person that takes care of that data analysis. And we have already begun to see a significant change in overall response times at the 90th percentile, as well as overall travel time at the 90th percentile as we work through some of the challenges that we had with data previously. When we reported the data, we did our best to include, or we did include every bit of data and every call that we went on, and certainly have discovered the need to refine that and to provide more effective analysis moving forward.
Follow up to that question, Chief, especially it's going to be tough for you to analyze 2020 against the other years, but did 2020 pose any significant challenges to you with respect to outliers?
No specific challenges with respect to outliers, Commissioner. Most of our challenges with 2020, as many departments, and I'm sure you all know, had to deal with COVID and the increase in response times due to PPE requirements, due to having to clean vehicles, apparatus, and equipment more often. So those were really our challenges as it relates to our responses in 2020.
Thank you, Chief.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
Thomas Breyer, I think you have a question.
No, sir, he answered my questions in his opening statements. Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions from Commission?
Yeah, this is Chief Butler, and I do have a question.
Go ahead, John.
Chief, congratulations on a really good report. There are some phrases or terms I read in category 3 that I could use some clarity on. Is there a difference between senior management staff and chief officer staff?
Yes, sir. That's a great question, Chief, and I apologize for the confusion. Senior management staff or senior leadership refers to the deputy chiefs, myself, our fire administrative manager, and executive assistant. Chief officer staff refers to all staff, including those that I just mentioned, at the battalion chief level as well. So there's 8 battalion chiefs in various positions across the department. So those members would also be included as part of that group.
Okay, a follow-up observation. It didn't seem like there was a lot of engagement or involvement with those that were, for lack of a better word, lower than the senior or the senior leadership, senior staff. There was a lot of distinction on the senior and the upper level. Maybe there is, and just wasn't expressed in the report as much. There's a lot of focus on that upper level decision makers.
Yeah, that's a great point. So that's one of the things, Chief, that we realize that we need to work on and make sure that we involve our staff more regularly. We do provide and have staff meetings across all of our shifts, but we definitely need to create better opportunities for succession planning and for involvement throughout the ranks. And we certainly feel like that will happen this year as a result of some of the efforts that we're undertaking.
Thank you. That's all I had.
Chief, I have one question, and we heard a little bit about how in 2020 you had some challenges with cleaning units that would have impacted your response standards. And I normally steer clear of asking questions about response times, but it would seem there's a significant gap 2017 to 19 for a number of your parameters. And I'm just wondering if that's overly influenced by the 2020 numbers, and if not, whether you have some some plans to move those baselines closer to the benchmarks.
Yeah, so our baselines we're already seeing for calendar year 2020. Our baselines are moving closer, which is what we would hope for. And we think that having that data outlier policy will certainly be instrumental in making sure that we properly analyze that data and then report that data. So, we certainly anticipate that the gaps are going to close. We're already seeing that. So we have many more categories, if you will, in our gap analysis right now that are green, which means they're good, clearly, than we did previously when we sort of apply our data analysis policy. So yes, we should realize very quickly quite a big change in those times for the better.
Yeah. I forgot to mention in my question, you talked about the outlier piece as well. So what you're seeing is it's a combination of kind of those two things. Probably a bit of a drop in performance that maybe many have experienced in 2020, but also your outlier policy is having a very detrimental impact to those earlier numbers. So thank you. I just wanted to ask that to be sure.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Any other questions from Commission? In that case, can I get a motion to approve Lynchburg for accreditation?
Ford.
Terry Ford, thank you. Second?
Dirksen.
Votes, I heard for sure. Any further discussion? Any opposed? Congratulations, Lynchburg. Great report, as I said. Great achievement with the return of spontaneous respiration. So fabulous job, and congratulations on your accreditation.
Thank you all for what you do for us every day.
Appreciate it. Thank you for what you do for your community. And we'll make our arrangements to get the award to you, which we'd normally present to you in person, of course, but we'll ship that and make sure you get that.
Thank you, sir. It's our pleasure. Thank you, Chief Rosenberger.
Thank you, Chief. Take care.
As the fire chief for the city of Lynchburg, I'm very grateful for the men and women who provide a wonderful service every day to our community. And I want our community to know through this process that we have validated the great work and that we provide to our citizens. And we're committed to providing that work every day to you, to all of the visitors to our community. And I'm very appreciative and thankful for the great work the men and women do at the Lynchburg Fire Department.